Please be seated. The chamber is now back in session. And before we hand the floor to the co-prosecutor and the lead co-lawyers for civil parties to put questions to this witness, I'd like to hand the floor to Judge Fence to present a ruling to the objection raised by Counsel Coupe on the questions and the documents to be put before the chamber. That is before this witness of the prosecution. And Judge Fence, you may have the floor.
Thank you, President. Before the break, Counsel for Nunchia has objected to the use of the copy of a document for the purposes of questioning, and he has also asked generally for guidance on future objections on such documents and generally future objections on the use of the word or the term Khmer Rouge. Now, when it comes to the objection is rejected. Counsel has referred to his previous objections and the grounds for those, and this objection has been ruled upon. Now, as to the issue of general guidance, the Chamber appreciates Counsel's attempt to be constructive. It's just very difficult to make general rulings on the basis of such short statements. So, generally, obviously, Counsel need not repeat objections on which the Chamber has already ruled. Counsel might wish to re-raise an objection if he has additional or new grounds.
President, thank you. And once again, the Chamber would like to cede the floor to the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me pose what is my last question before I turn the floor over to the civil parties. Madam Witness, what I was asking you, you've talked about already the process by which the Khmer Rouge went about to try to identify Vietnamese. My question was, were you aware of what the Khmer Rouge did in your commune to try to identify people who were soldiers or officials with the Lon Nol regime?
Thank you for your question. On the issue of trying to find those soldiers or students, what they did was to ask questions at the units or during our break time. They would ask our biographies, our employment background, etc. And some of the workers would give true answers that he or she was a major or a teacher or a soldier. And that's how they obtained the information. That is during the work break, or sometimes they would come to ask a question of individual at our place where we stayed.
Thank you very much for your time today on behalf of the co-prosecutors. I have no further questions, Mr. President.
President, thank you. We now give the floor to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties to put questions to this witness. You have the floor. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors. with your leave, I'd like to assign Chief Van Lee, Counsel for Civil Parties, and may be continued by Mary. President, yes, you may proceed. Chief Van Lee. Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors, and everyone in and around the courtroom. And good afternoon, Madam Chiang Sri Mom. Since this morning, you responded to several questions before this court, and I have a few more points to put to you in order to shed light before this chamber. Due to a time limit, let me go straight to the question. Madam Chiang Sri Mom, this morning, in fact, in question answer number 5 of your written record before OCIJ, you stated that Chiem was the unit chief and was removed due to moral offense. Can you tell the court what moral offense means? Answer. Chim Thiem was the unit chief. However, that unit was not at the commune level. The unit was encompassed only 3 villages. The moral offense meant when one committed the moral offense, the husband was taken away and killed, and the wife was still working in the unit. At night time, he made this sexual advance or contact with that widow or the wife of the person who was killed, and he was monitored by the other people, and he was reported, and as a result, he was removed from the unit chief position. He was sanctioned to work hard. For example, to water coconut trees at the office, at the party's office. And that's because of the moral offense he committed. Later on, he was interrogated, and he seems to become a deaf person, rather a mute person. And although he worked there, he was considered an offender, and he was no longer in the leading role for the unit. Questioned. Did such a moral offense occur frequently at where you stayed? Answer. No, it did not happen frequently. To my knowledge, there were 2 cases. One was a Chim Thiem, and another one was involved the deputy team leader. And I cannot recall the name properly. It might be Nim. That person also alleged to commit a moral offense with another person's wife. Ordinary people did not know about that. Only those at the leadership roles, for example, unit chief, knew of what happened, and as a result, that person was also punished. Question. This morning, you stated before this court, in response to the prosecution, that you saw a record at the Krantachan office on the execution of your father. My question to you is the following. When did you see that record? Answer. I saw that record recently, and I believe it was in 2013. At one time, I attended a ceremony, and I prayed that if my father died there, let me see a document related to him or his biography. I kept praying that, and I looked through a document, and there was a document which was translated, I don't know, into English, and there was my copy there. And when I sifted through the book, I saw the names of my father and my mother appeared. For that reason, I was sure, based on that record, my father was killed at the Krang Atachan office. And I believe that book is still maintained at the Krang Tachan. And I keep telling other people, if you lost your relatives at the Krang Tachan, please go to visit the place and try to look through that book. And some people have found the names while others don't. And the handwriting was not that great. Questioned, the list that you saw, or the book that you saw, was it made since the Khmer Rouge regime, or was it newly made and kept at the Krang Tachan office? Answer. The book, which was the document and the handwriting, to me seems to exist during the Khmer Rouge regime. Then it was photocopied and compiled into a book. So those documents were contemporary documents of the Khmer Rouge regime, and they were copied and compiled into a book. But I do not know when that book was compiled. But the book is still there now. Question. Besides the name of your father, did you see other names of other prisoners? Or are there many names of prisoners in that book? Answer. In that book, they contain thousands of names. And there are two set of two books in that set, but I only saw the book which contained my father's name, and the clergyman there told me that there were tens of thousands of people whose names appeared on that book, because there was a high part of a skeleton remains collected at that location. And those who died have their records kept at that location. And when I asked the person who works there, the old man told me that there were tens of thousands of people who died there, and there was in fact another book containing the list of those people. And in fact, it was foreigners who went to research the number of people who died there, and they compiled the list of those documents into these two books. And people who lost their relatives could go there and search through the books in the hope to find the names. Question. Can you tell us how far is Krang Tachan security office from the village where you lived? Answer. My village is situated in Nyanyong commune, and Krantajan Genocidal Museum is located in Kus commune. As for the distance, it is around 10 kilometers. Question. Besides Krantajan Security Office in Tramkot district, to your knowledge, do you know if there are other security centers? Answer. There is no such security office in the district, but there could be a few killing sites here or there. I mean, one or two people would be killed there in somewhere in the forest. But as for the place where thousands of people were killed, there was only one, that is Krantajan. Question. Let me move on to another topic. This morning you testified before this court that you participate in a big meeting at the district level at Ong Roka and Ong Rolie. Can you tell the court whether these two names refers to the same location, Ong Roka and Ong Rolie? Answer. The meeting that was held at Ong Roka and Ong Rolie, in fact, these two names refer to separate locations which are quite far from one another. Ong Roka is about 20 kilometers from my village. As for Ong Rolie, it's about 10 kilometers away. So they are two separate locations. Question. Does it mean that you attended a district level meeting twice? Answer. The meetings occurred rather frequently, but I cannot recall some locations where those meetings were held. To my recollection, I remember that the two locations, that is Ong Roka and Ong Rolie, where the meetings were held. Question. Allow you to recall during that meeting how many people attended and who actually presided over that meeting? Answer. I did not know clearly the people who presided over the meeting, as they were referred to as Ongka. But I didn't know where that Ongka came from. As for the participants, there were many of them. And I cannot say for sure how many in total, but to me there were so many, including male and female youth and soldiers. All the soldiers also attended that meeting. Question. Can you recall what was the main content of that meeting? Answer. It is very unlikely that I can recall the detailed content of that meeting. I can only recall some points. Namely, to strengthen the army's force. They talked about the front battlefields. They talked about their regular force to actively engage in the attack. and to encourage the participants to perform our work. And another point that I can recall is that people or us should not imagine the return of the previous regime. They said that in the future the country will be consulted and there would be plentiful of resources, there would be roads everywhere, there would be electricity everywhere. However, mainly they emphasize on the morality and that we should not be joyful with the romantic songs and not to engage in any love affair or to pay respect to the Buddha statue, which was just a piece of a concrete stone. That's all what I can recall. Question. There is one point that I'd like to get you clarified. You stated that in your question and answer number 10, you saw Tamok once when he came for the inspection at the industrial section. Can you tell us when that happened and how did you know that it was a Tamok? Answer. Personally, I did not see Tamok, but my husband worked in the industrial section at Liech Bo, and Tamok went there for inspection, and my husband told me that Tamok went to inspect the industrial section to see those blacksmiths. So I did not see Tamok personally. I only heard from my husband that Tamok visited the Tramkot district and that he was from the zone level. That's how I knew about this information, that is by my husband. But I did not see him or know him. I only saw people who were referred to as Onka. Question. Did you know what position or function Tamok held? Was he at a district level or at another level? Answer. I did not know his actual position. I only knew that he was from the upper Onka level. Question. This morning you stated before this court and also you stated in your question answer 7 that you received a letter from Boon. Did you actually read the content of that letter and who actually signed it or have their name appear on that letter? Answer. I only saw a sentence or a phrase from that letter. It was delivered by a messenger. That's my name, that I was invited to go there urgently before evening. And the word urgent kept repeating a few times, urgent, urgent, urgent. And the letter was actually very brief. That is, I had to go to the commune office before dark, and I really recall well the word urgent, urgent, urgent. Thank you, Madam Chang Srimom, for your responses before this court. And Mr. President, due to time limit, I'd like to hand the floor to my international colleague. Thank you. President, thank you. You have 10 more minutes.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Madame Witness. I am Marie Guiraud. I am a lead co-lawyer representing the consolidated group of civil parties. I have a few follow-up questions to the statements you've made to us. I want to return to the evening of May 1977 when you were convened to the commune office to be married. I would like to know if you were given a reason as to why you should be married.
Witness, yes. When I was called to be married, at the beginning, there was a letter calling me to go there immediately before dark, urgent and urgent. And the person who came to call me was a different person. But when I arrived there, another person came and see me. She was the chief of the female unit. And I asked her, what was the reason of calling me here? And she told me that you have to be ready to go because Anka will marry you tonight and will ask you to make a determination for that marriage. And then the chief of the female unit, so what is your decision? She asked me. I was at the corner. I had no choice, and I told her that it's up to my parents. And then she asked, are you a daughter of your parents or a daughter of Anka? And I told her, I am a daughter of Anka. And I asked her, who will be my future husband? She told me, his name is Trituj. I was quiet. So she gave me time to come back to the unit location so that I can be ready to go back. And then I returned to my place, and I tried to take some time to worship the Buddha statue, that this marriage should not be happening. If my future husband is my life companion, please help me to be calm. I pray while I was crying. And then I was quickly to return and try to get into the meeting where they organize the marriage. But my husband had no idea what is going to happen, and a messenger told him to go and catch a cow at the commune office. He was not finishing his meal, and then he rushed to the commune office. And he was told to enter, and then he did that.
Mais je vous remercie.
Thank you, Madam Witness, for once again explaining to us in detail how that event unfolded. But my question was, were you given any reasons as to why you were to be married? Did anybody provide you an explanation as to why you were supposed to be married? And I would ask that you specifically respond to that question.
Witness, I'm sorry for that. There was no explanation before, but there was an explanation at the marriage ceremony. And they told me that Angka decided to marry you tonight. It was happening at the ceremony location.
Est-ce que
For you, was the objective of the marriage to also produce children for Angkor? Was that something that was explained to you? And does it today resonate as a logical reason?
Witness, please hold on. Please, Mr. Kong Sam-on, you may proceed. Kong Sam-on, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to object this question because the witness did not respond that she married to deliver a child for Angka. So this is a leading question.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. That was not a leading question. I was just asking what the witness's impression was. It's absolutely fundamental to understand why these people were forced to marry. You understand that forced marriage is one of the charges in this trial. You are fully aware that the question is entirely relevant to the case file.
The President, in Khmer language, a question was leading, so the objection sustained is appropriate. So there might be a translation problem, and the English-speaking judge feel that it is not appropriate. So could you please reframe your question for this purpose, Counsel?
Je vais essayer.
I will attempt to do so, Mr. President. Madam Witness, on that evening, or on a different evening, were you given any explanation according to which you were to marry in order to have children for Angkor?
Witness, it's my apology that I could not understand well the question. In that marriage, there was no notice. Just immediately before the marriage, I was told that Angkor will marry you, and there was no explanation what I need to do in the future. Was not told either.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Madam Witness. I want to return to the first night that you spent with your husband and that you testified about this morning. You said that militiamen were surrounding your house and eavesdropping. I would like for you to give some information to the chamber and tell us what they were trying to overhear. What were the militiamen trying to overhear? Please provide as much detail as you can.
I object. This is asking for speculation. This particular question is asking what they were trying to do. I mean, she can guess what they might be doing, but she can actually only testify as to what she saw or what she heard, not what they were trying to do.
Mr. President, if I may, all evidence it is admissible in this tribunal. We have the discretion to ask any question we wish. You are professional judges, Your Honors. You can draw the difference between true and false in a testimony, and I believe that the scope and discretion is quite wide in terms of the lines of questioning that we ask. I've asked a very specific question concerning a very specific event. I do not believe that I've entered the realm of speculation in any way whatsoever.
The President, the witness doesn't need to reply to the last question put by the lead co-lawyer, because it might be that you will give the speculated response. The President, Defense Counsel, could you clarify, and Judge Lavange would like to Judge Lavange would like to confirm. Judge, you may proceed.
Voilà, je pense.
I believe there may well be a translation problem. I think the witness can be asked to tell the chamber what she knows personally regarding the presence of militia that evening below her house. Does she have any personal knowledge of that subject, and what can she tell us regarding that? Madam Witness, is the question clear?
Witness, yes, it is true. At the first night when I sleep with my husband in the same house, I saw a militiaman below my house. I was frightened with their prison, but I don't know their purpose to be there. But I knew from other couples who married earlier. So if the militiaman reported that the couple was not getting along very well, they reported, and the couple was in trouble. When I saw that militiaman, I was in fear, and I had a great concern, and my father has recently been killed, and I was fearful that something bad may happen to me.
Merci, Madame le témoin.
Thank you, Madam Witness. I have just one last question for you regarding what you have just stated. In any case, what we heard in French was that when couples did not get on well, that is what we heard in French. Can you tell us what you meant by that expression, when couples did not get on well with one another?
Witness, this means that the couple, in some case, the husband loved the wife, but the wife did not love her husband, and they continue to have a problem, and they would be called for criticism in the meeting, and it happened to them very often in the criticism meeting in my village. There was a couple after marriage. The woman refused to make love or to have sex with her husband, and the woman was called for criticism in a meeting, and the a killing or death sentence has not been imposed on him, but she was sanctioned to do hard labor, including clearing the grass or carrying dirt, for example.
បាទអរគុណអស់ពេលហើយណាបាទមុននឹងឲ្យព្រះផ្ដល់វិធីការជូនទៅក្រុម
Yes, your time is up, and before giving the floor to the defense counsel, if judge from the bench would like to put any question to the witness, you may proceed. Judge Claudia French, you may proceed.
This is a follow-up question to the last questions asked by the co-lead lawyers. You were asked what you were afraid of in case you didn't sleep with your husband, and you said couples were in trouble and something bad might happen to me. Now, I want to know what kind of bad did you expect to happen to you? I'm not sure this translates well. If it doesn't, I'm willing to split it into shorter sentences. Do you understand?
Witness, yes, Your Honor. My understanding was that if I do not consummate the marriage, I will be in trouble because my father had been executed for just 2 days ago. So I fear for my life. So I try to calm down myself because I was fear that I will be executed. Because in that marriage, I did that. I was married because it related to the death of my father. If I oppose the party, I may be in trouble. I cannot stay in safety. That's why when I saw the militiaman, I told the counsel earlier already.
Thank you. This was clear. One further question. You said you were afraid you would be executed if you didn't consummate the marriage. My question is, were you aware what had happened to other couples, not you, other couples, who hadn't consummated the marriage? You already told us about one thing, which was they had to talk about it in group sessions. Did something else happen to other couples who didn't consummate the marriage?
Witness. Yes, other couples who did not consummate their marriage because in in a unit or in a group and during the meeting, in the criticism meeting, people criticize the woman who did not consummate her marriage. So that I know she refused to do that, and it was known to the group chief and unit chief, and she was criticized in the meeting. So I know about that because the chief of the unit and the group chief criticized the person for failure or for refusing to consummate the marriage.
There is obviously an issue of translation. I didn't want you to repeat the group session thing. I have understood that. My question is, if other couples didn't want to consummate the marriage, what would happen to them beside the group session, if anything?
Witness. A couple who did not consummate the marriage, there were the first criticism, the second and the third criticism, and they continue to refuse. They were accused of being refusing the order from the party from Angkar. Their punishment including forced labor, to do hard labor in planting vegetable or carrying dirt. That was their punishment.
You told us you were afraid you would be killed if you wouldn't consummate your marriage. Why were you afraid you would be killed?
Response. The reason was that because my family linked to a grave case, and after the death of my father, I heard that they would root out the grass, the entire root. So when I heard that my father was killed and I am his daughter, so I have to be very careful. I fear for my life.
Thank you. And my very last question, did you ever hear that anybody who refused to consummate their marriage was killed?
Response. There was no killing for any couple who refused to consummate marriage. But for me, I thought that the marriage was organized by the party, by Angkar. If I were to oppose or to refuse, I thought at that time that I would be killed because my father was accused of being opposing the party, and I may be accused of being opposing the party. So if I refuse to consummate, and I might be falling in the bad situation. So I fear that I will be considered as opposing the party, My assumption was that it's not criticism, but I would be killed for refusal.
Thank you, I've understood that. So to sum up, not in your case. I understand why you were afraid you would be killed. But I'm now generally asking you, so the punishment, to the best of your knowledge, for other couples who didn't marry or who refused to consummate their marriage was a certain number of these truth sessions and hard labor. Anything else, or is this it? Is this correct?
Witness, I'm sorry, I could not catch your question, Your Honor. Could you repeat your question?
I'll try and be briefer. I'm now not asking about your case. I've understood why you were afraid to be killed if you didn't consummate the marriage. You have told us that other couples, not you, other couples who didn't consummate the marriage were punished by group sessions and hard labor. Was there any other punishment for those couples who refused to consummate their marriage?
Witness, for other couples who did not consummate the marriage, there were the first, the second, and the third criticism, but they were fear for their death. To my knowledge, in my village, the couple refused to consummate marriage, and they were criticized for the first, the second time, and the third time, and then they were criticized, and she consummated the marriage, but her relationship with her husband is not very good, but the making love happened as instructed. And when Anka found that they got along well, there was no criticism. But my observation was that the woman was unhappy. She tried to do that. It's not on her own willingness, but after the falling of the regime, they divorced, and she married to a second husband, and the husband married to a second wife. So this happened to one couple, eyewitness. The President, Judge Lavange, you may proceed.
Oui, merci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Madam, I have two questions for you. The first has to do with what you said. You said that after your marriage, you stayed in a house prepared for you by Anka. Tell us whether that house became your place of permanent residence, or you only stayed there occasionally.
Witness, a house used to be owned by villagers, but they left. But after my marriage, I was told to stay temporarily in that house. It was not my permanent resident. I was moved from one place to another place. It was my temporary house.
Et c'était un logement qui...
Was that house meant as a place of residence for new couples by Angkar?
Response: that house was not built for the new couple, but it was the house of the villager long time ago. But Angkar evacuated people out of that village, and my husband was in a unit, and I was also in my unit. After the marriage, we had no place to stay, so they told us to stay in that house for consummating the marriage. And after 1 week, we were separated, and my husband was sent to another commune, and I was transferred to another commune, and we would meet every 10 days, but not at the same house. I told you earlier, we would move from one house to another.
Qui est-ce qui décidait des...
Who decided on what date you had to meet? Why did they give you certain dates for your meeting?
In general, the upper Angkar determined, for example, every 10 or 20 days that we were allowed to rest and that the couples could meet. And they decided that the couples, that is the husbands and wives, were allowed to rest and meet one another on the 10th, the 20th, and the 30th day of the month.
Est-ce que lorsque vous vous retrouviez...
When you met with your husband, were there again other militias who would listen to you below your house, or it only happened once?
Later on, they didn't eavesdrop us anymore. They only did that at the beginning. And because I did not have a permanent or fixed residence, I was on mobile, as we worked in a mobile unit. And sometimes we stay in a makeshift house made out of palm juice tree leaves. We just use the leaves to make a shelter, and we use a mat, and then I would sleep under that makeshift hut with my husband. It could be in a rice field somewhere or under a tree.
J'ai une toute dernière question.
I have one final question regarding the militias. The militias are referred to in Khmer as shop. Who were those militiamen? What was their age? To what social group or category did they belong?
Militias were about 30 years old, and they were just like people with husbands and wives. They had their family, And they only came to spy on us on the first night whether we consummate the marriage, and after that they did not come to eavesdrop anymore.
Je vous remercie, madame. Je n'aurai pas d'autres questions.
Thank you, madam. I have no further questions for you.
President, the time is appropriate for a short break. We will take a break now and return at 10 to 3. And court officer, during the short break, please assist the witness and have her return to the courtroom before 10 to 3. The court is now in recess.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រងចូល